MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Good evening. Welcome to your Direct Connection. Coming up tonight, big changes to the Maryland State House. That's ahead, but first, on the eve of the New Hampshire primary, are we at the point of maximum uncertainty for the Democratic Party, or is the uncertainty maybe just beginning? Joining us to answer your political questions are John Deedy, professor of political science at CCBC, and Sarah Oliver, assistant professor of political science at Towson University. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
I saw a headline today that said chances of a brokered convention increasing. Now, my question is, I think we see that headline every 4 years. Is it a real thing?
I think it's a real possibility because right now the Democratic Party primary process has become a train wreck. The situation regarding Iowa, the fact that the Biden campaign is starting to not only have money-raising problems, if he doesn't win South Carolina in about 3 weeks, he's going to be out of the race. And then it's going to be almost the ABB club, anybody but Bernie. And that has a potential to be a real mess.
Yeah, it ends up having the potential to be a little bit more like the Republican primary in 2016, where we can't pick a candidate or even a top two. All we really need is 2, maybe 3 top candidates, and that pretty much prevents a brokered convention. But this list of top 5 with a couple coming down the pike is a recipe for potential excitement.
You're both experts on our political system, the history of it. How did it come to be that Iowa, New Hampshire sort of control things? I mean, can Maryland get in on this somehow?
I think considering what happened with Iowa last week, I think whoever the next Democratic president is, if there's one in 2020, or even the party's going to look at getting rid of Iowa. Tom Perez talked about they've gotten rid of a lot of these caucuses, but I think that Iowa did so much damage to itself, and a lot of people have said, you had all these minority candidates run, and there's none of them left. And that's before the process started, and they feel that maybe what they need to do is have a primary in a state like South Carolina or even in Maryland where there's more minority voters. And I think the good thing about this disaster has been that there's definitely going to be some changes.
Yeah. For New Hampshire was the first to out the gate to literally put in state law that they are the first primary.
So whenever, I mean, if Maryland were to challenge them, and we're going to decide, you know, we're doing ours on Christmas Day, they would automatically be on Christmas Eve. Is that what you're saying?
Who knows? I mean, so that would have to be decided by the Democratic Party or both parties combined to figure out that dispute if Maryland tried to jump boat.
And I think that both parties probably, even based on some of the past problems the Republicans have had in Iowa, this is almost the perfect vehicle now to get rid of the Iowa caucus. And I think considering that no candidate can say they even got any momentum out of Iowa, I think leaves the party frustrated because this is what people were talking about last week.
Yeah, last week was bad for Iowa, might be really good for New Hampshire if they have all they have to do is have a clean election, which is fairly low stakes for a primary.
Easier than a clean caucus. So
absolutely.
We can go wherever you guys want with this discussion. We'll solicit feedback from the viewers in a second. I was thinking I would start by asking your impressions of the big name candidates. What advice would you give them? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Starting with the senators, the sitting senators, in any order you like. What jumps out at you, Sarah?
Ooh, I gotta say, advice for Elizabeth Warren is really to just stop fighting as much for Bernie Sanders fans and reach out a little bit. When you think too ideologically and think about yourself as being ideologically similar to Bernie Sanders and therefore that's your competition, that's leaving out a lot of people that could go her way.
Too late to do that?
Not necessarily.
People pivot every day.
That's one thing is, so Bernie Sanders fans are fairly solid, but almost everyone else is up for grabs right now. And I think she could take advantage of that, especially if Biden pulls out of the race. I think she could pull some of his voters.
I think she possibly could, but the thing is, the Sanders people are pretty solid. And right now, the big buzz or flavor of the month is Amy Klobuchar. I think she's going to take a lot of votes from Elizabeth Warren. And if she loses 2 in a row to Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, I think she could be out of the race a lot sooner than people realize because she hasn't made a dent in the Sanders people who else is she going to make a dent in? And that's been her big problem. And I think that she's had a lot of problems over the last 2 to 3 months, especially with her plans and a variety of other things. And I just think she's lost a lot of steam. Biden's got to have the stand-up moment. He's got to win South Carolina. If he doesn't win South Carolina, it's over for him. And that's where he's at. And the thing is, he's having the other problem of not being able to raise enough money.
Sanders has a lot on the line tomorrow. Could he surprise? Could he underproduce in New Hampshire?
I think with Sanders, I think he's going to win New Hampshire. The story is going to be who's going to be number 2, because there's always going to be the media narrative. Okay, now it's Bernie against who? Is it going to be Bernie against Buttigieg? Bernie against Amy Klobuchar? What is going to be the narrative? Because in 1984, Gary Hart came out of nowhere and suddenly it was Hart against Mondale. And that was the media narrative really until the Democratic convention. And I think that New Hampshire could be a big momentum changer for one of these candidates to give a campaign a lot of oxygen.
Sure. Bernie Sanders has so many high expectations that he really can't exceed anything. There's only the
Nothing
potential
good
for
can happen to
downsides
him.
for him. So it's the classic scenario of high risk, not that much reward.
But is he still treated by the chattering class as a little bit of a gadfly, not quite in the Democratic Party? Nobody can really quite see him as the nominee.
Yeah.
Could he actually be the nominee?
He could be the nominee, and if he's the nominee, it's a 40-state landslide for Donald Trump. The problem is the idea of democratic socialism, and the reason Donald Trump hasn't attacked Bernie Sanders is this is the guy he wants to run against.
Sarah, your eyebrows went up on the 40-state landslide.
That's the common knowledge among some, but there's also something to be said for if he were to be the nominee, the Democratic Party would get behind him because the Democratic Party, first and foremost, wants to win the general election and secondarily wants to nominate someone other than Bernie Sanders.
I don't know how much they'll get behind him. And, you know, in my opinion, a lot of Bernie Sanders is reminding me of going back in the ancient history of George McGovern. And in 1972, there was a guy running for the Senate in Delaware who had almost no shot of winning. He avoided George McGovern like the plague and barely won. His name was Joe Biden.
Wow. Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question, you want to join the conversation, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen, and you can also email us. The email address is livequestions@mpt.org. Before we get to a couple of calls, quick impressions of a couple of other people. We've touched on Biden a little bit. Seems to have the momentum of Jeb Bush 2016 at the moment. Can he turn it around?
He could. It doesn't seem likely that it'll happen in New Hampshire. He's already trying to set really low expectations so that you can't possibly go below them. He's basically waiting for South Carolina. And so I don't think it'll be too bad for him if he loses, unless if he comes in 5th, if he goes below Warren and Klobuchar, that could be a problem.
That would be an absolute nightmare for his campaign, where I think he'd really have to start reassessing what he's doing. And if Biden goes down, the person who's going to pick up the benefits, I think, of this is Michael Bloomberg. He's already spent $300 million. This is a guy worth $60 billion. He's prepared to spend probably $3 or $4 billion of his own money, which isn't a lot when you have $60 billion to run for president. And I think a candidate like that, a lot of Democrats could gravitate towards quickly because he'd be spending a lot of money they don't have to spend.
Let's go to the phones. Allegheny County, this is Lisa. Lisa, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. In Maryland, you can only vote in a primary if you're a registered Democrat or Republican. What will it take for Maryland to allow independent registered voters to vote in a primary?
Interesting question. Thank you very much. Not the case in New Hampshire, right?
Absolutely.
Open primaries.
Open primaries, independents can register the vote in the Democratic or Republican primary.
I think we might have tried that once in Maryland.
The Republicans about in the mid-90s tried that to kind of boost their turnout a little bit in the primary. They did it in 1998, but it didn't get very far. And a lot of the parties really don't want to do it because they fear that independents...
Mischief, for one thing.
Mischief, political mischief. Like, for example, in South Carolina, the Trump campaign is trying to encourage a lot of Republicans to vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary.
We haven't talked about Pete Buttigieg quite enough. I mean, he was number one or tied for number one in Iowa. Advice, expectations, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he's running a really good campaign. He seems to be really gaining momentum. It was a little late coming, but he got some momentum out of Iowa, and I think he's in the running to place second. And if he won in New Hampshire, that would be a huge moment for his campaign.
You know, and supposedly he has a problem not polling well with African American voters, but you wonder, one photo op, Mayor Pete, former President Obama, would it fix that?
I don't think that would fix it. He's going to have to do some more stuff. He's going to have to really visit a lot of the African American churches, spend time with a lot of African American leaders. Yeah, the photo op would work a little bit, but you need a little bit more street credibility, and you have to give the impression you're listening.
An endorsement from Obama, however, that would help.
and not coming early. I mean, Obama's keeping his distance even from his vice president.
Yeah, also Biden pulling out of the race would be great for even at least the opportunity for some of those African-American voters to move over to Buttigieg.
Call from Harford County. This is Gary. Gary, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
With all the different candidates that we have to deal with in both parties in the previous primaries and such, why don't we go to something like ranked choice voting to sort them out a little better and get a more popular pick?
Gary, that's a great question. Thank you very much for the phone call. I honestly don't understand ranked choice voting. What does it mean?
So basically, ranked choice voting is giving you the opportunity to not just vote your first choice candidate, but also have a second choice candidate. That if your first choice isn't viable, isn't going to be the winner, who else would you like? And so that gives people to vote who they really like in that first round, but still have a backup of who do I least like to win? Who do I want to vote against? Have some sort of more preferences from those people who are voting for people who, at least at this stage in the campaign, most of which aren't going to win.
Is that a little like how the caucuses work?
It's a little like the caucuses, but in a primary election, it would just be on paper. And so it would be a lot easier to calculate than some of the problems we had in Iowa.
Let's talk Republicans for a second. Obviously, Mr. Trump in full control of the party, but is there a little tinge of Romneyism floating around out there in many Republicans, do you think?
I think there's a little bit of a tinge, and I think basically everyone's staying underneath and trying to fly as much below radar as possible till after November of this year, and then summon maybe some courage or decide, okay, now I've decided, here's how I really feel. I think a lot of people are just right now trying to fly below radar and stay out of the president's vengeance.
Sure. Viewer email question, is there a candidate, paraphrasing, who can best unite Democratic voters, prevent a repeat of 2016? The writer says, I don't see Sanders supporters turning out for Bloomberg. Who could bring them together?
I think who could bring them
together.
I
mean, does Donald Trump bring them together?
Donald Trump brings a segment together. But then you got to get people enthusiastic, because there's some voters who haven't been touched over the last 4 years by the president's actions, which may sound a little odd. Yeah. I think a Vice President Michelle Obama would bring people together. The question is who the nominee would be that would do that, and if she would take it. It's going to take the Democratic Party, if they end up in a brokered convention, is going to need a lot of sizzle in order to get out of the convention.
Yeah, and whoever wins, if it's not Bernie Sanders, picking a vice president that could pull some of those Sanders supporters would be really important. And if it is Bernie Sanders, pulling someone who could pull some more mainstream Democrats would be really. So I think the vice president is going to be really key to that unity.
So to indulge the political reporter's fantasy of a brokered convention for a second, historically, what happens? Does it wind up being one of the people who slogged through Iowa and New Hampshire and has been in the race the whole time, or do they sometimes turn to a favorite son, somebody, a Michelle Obama, somebody who has not been in the race?
What would probably happen in this situation with the brokered convention is in early balloting, they'd probably be looking at the top candidates, and probably the top candidates would try to think, look, I want to win this thing, let me make a deal. In 1932, John Nance Gardner was offered the vice presidency from Franklin Roosevelt in order to get Roosevelt nominated. Gardner took it. And
later described the job as a Don't hit the bleep button.
Yes, but basically described it as not worth much more than a warm pitcher of
something. Yes.
Yeah, it would be much more open, but if you think about it, it's going to be a room full of the delegates of all of those various candidates. And so it could go in a number of different directions, but the Bernie supporters are going to be all for Bernie. And so it probably wouldn't look great for him because a lot of other establishment Democrats are going to be in that room.
And the super delegates, the ones who have to be elected in the fall, are also going to have a say. And they're going to look at their own polling saying, look, I'm going to have trouble getting reelected or elected if Bernie's at the top of the ticket. Who can be the compromise person? Maybe an Elizabeth Warren as a vice president to soothe some of the Bernie people.
Let's get back to the phones. Kent County, this is Mike. Mike, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to ask your guests, what do they think of the probability of Mike Blumenthal literally blindsiding all of the current Democratic candidates? Making these primaries basically a moot point.
Mike, thanks for the phone call. The Bloomberg campaign is going to have to increase its ad spending in Maryland to get the Bloomberg, not Blumenthal, brand out there. But to see rise and fall on Super Tuesday, which is enormous in terms of delegates.
So he's running the numbers game, and the numbers really start on Super Tuesday. And he only wins if he made that calculation correctly. If he wins big on Super Tuesday, then he has a shot. Otherwise, he's pretty much a candidate for one day.
If Biden falls apart in South Carolina, I think a lot of moderate voters are going to turn to Bloomberg, and they're seeing the ads in North Carolina already. Bloomberg's running ads. No one else is doing it. He's focusing on a big Super Tuesday. He looks at that as the start of the campaign. And if I was a betting person and I had to bet on who I think has the best chance of the nomination, after Sanders, I think Bloomberg would be number 2.
Question from a viewer who says that after 2016 Mayor Pete ran to be the head of the DNC and lost, how can you explain his rise as a potential moderate standard bearer? He's an effective speaker. No one would dispute that. Well prepared.
Yeah, he's an effective speaker. He's got a good story, and he can give a good speech. And that's something that can really catapult someone that originally had very low chances into now the top tier of the race.
And I think the other thing he has going for him is youth. And people always gravitate towards a younger candidate. The problem is
Gary Hart a million years ago when you were working for him.
Yes, Gary Hart a million years ago was a youthful in his 40s. And I think that galvanizes people. Also, he really hasn't been media vetted. So right now, people are hearing the nice story of the mayor, the war veteran, et cetera, the type of things on a resume that look good.
Phone call from Talbot County. This is Phil. Phil, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, I think your guest should point out that independents and non-affiliated registered voters still have a couple more weeks to change their party registration to be able to vote in the upcoming primaries.
Phil, that's a great point. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Register to vote. Not just to vote in November, but you can still register now to vote in March in the primaries. You can pick your party now, so if you're worried about that closed primary, you still have time to sign up for a party. It's not forever. You can change it later. Go ahead and sign up.
If you don't vote, don't complain about what you get.
What's the electoral map look like in November? Is it a repeat of 4 years ago in terms of what Trump needs to do to get reelected?
He's got to figure out a way to hold on to states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, et cetera. At the same time, try to figure out a way to bring in a couple states or make a couple more states competitive, and maybe a state like Virginia, for example. He's got to focus on those type of things. And a lot of, I think, his strategy is going to depend on who the Democratic nominee is.
That's true, yeah. It's first hold the states that he had, because he can't really win without those, but also look to grow wherever he can. And it looks like he's pretty open to the idea of holding rallies and doing some advertising in order to see where he might be able to be viable.
Could he win twice without ever winning the popular vote?
I think he could. I think he could very easily, because I think there's some parts of this country that will vote overwhelmingly Democratic, the East Coast states, California. And as we're all discovering, it's about the Electoral College. It's not about popularity.
Professors, will leave it there. Sarah Oliver of Towson, John Deedy of CCBC. Look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Coming up, a high honor for some native Marylanders. We'll be right back.
Can you tell us what you know?
Turning back now to the race for the White House.
The State Board of Elections voted Thursday to set up a new election.
It must be a very emotional day.
The world changed in the blink of an eye.
Children are at the heart of this story.
Drop your phone and just be in the moment.
You guys ready?
Yeah!
It's a thrill to see images of a new world for the first time.
I want to look back and say, I learned something. That is where transformation happens.
I see people cry on this show, and I'm like, what y'all doing, man?
Out of the water came this giant thing.
That's incredible.
I feel it in my bones. This is so totally amazing.
They hear that song and they're like, that's my story.
I have chills.
All of the joys, all of the sorrows.
This is where it comes from.
The rest is history.
Our job is the truth.
I'm a journalist.
My destiny is to rule this country.
I will not run away.
Yes, Mom.
It's very exciting.
Lord, I'm getting tired of being so lonely. I've got the fire inside that burns more than it lies.
Sir, are you a gentleman? How dare he?
I'm a strong woman and I've got my own. I'm in control. I need somebody to hold. I refuse to be tamed. Kiss me. It's terribly hot, isn't it? No.
Please be mine again.
No.
Later tonight, the historic State House in Annapolis will get some new history. Here's Charles Robinson.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. What a historic day here at the State House. Right behind me is the old State House, where they're going to unveil the statues to both Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. Joining me is none other than the state archivist who kind of put it all together, Elaine Bachman. First of all, a lot of people have been waiting for this event. Tell them why it's so important.
It's long in coming. This was an idea that's really been 4 years in the making when the late Speaker Mike Bush and President Senate Emeritus Mike Miller asked the State House Trust to place statues of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass in the old House of Delegates chamber. It's not such an easy task to put 500-pound bronze statues into a 250-year-old building. So there was a great deal of structural work that had to take place before it could be done. But it's an event we've been long waiting for. I think people will be so pleased to be able to walk in that space and literally come face to face with these two great Marylanders. You know, the two greatest Marylanders in American history are now depicted in our State House, and we're very proud to be unveiling them tonight.
And I know it's extra special because we have a woman Speaker of the House, and she's an African American. That makes it special, doesn't it?
You're right. You know, it is such a shame that Mike Bush did not live to see this day that he had so long hoped for, but what could be more appropriate than having Speaker Adrienne Jones, the first African American Speaker, the first woman Speaker, be here to open that chamber tonight. And she'll be joined by relatives and descendants of both Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, so it's a very special evening here in the State House.
Elaine, thank you so very much. I now want to introduce you to somebody who did a lot of the research that went on here, and that's Maya Davis. Maya, first of all, these are lifelike statues. You and I had an argument about how tall they were. I said, well, he doesn't look as tall, but That's the actual height. So give him the
That's
height
the
of Frederick Douglass.
6'1". He's
6'1".
6'1", Charles, and Harriet is 5 feet tall. So I think it's just so significant that they're in the same space, and you can kind of see the difference in their stature.
I know the reasons why they're here, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit why they were put in the old House chambers?
Well, it started with research that we found 4 years ago with Frederick Douglass, finding out that he actually visited the State House in 1874, which we just thought was so awesome. We could now diversify the interpretation of the State House because we know he was actually physically here. But we did not want to put him in that space without recognizing his female counterpart, Harriet Tubman.
I know a lot of people will come here. They will stand next to these statues. I know you have, I have, and I just want to let everybody know that you can also get a chance to see this after all of this event is, because it's open every day, isn't it?
It is open every day. The State House is a public space.
Well, thank you very much, Maya Davis. Appreciate it. Just want to let you know that this is one of those times when history meets reality. Now let's go back to you in the studio.
Charles, thank you. Coming up Friday on State Circle, we'll have a complete report on the new exhibits. That is our program for tonight. Thursday at this time on Your Money and Business, a new name in Maryland banking. What does it stand for? And new reasons to visit the Edgar Allan Poe House. That's Thursday at 7 on MPT. Now for all of us here at MPT, I'm Jeff Salkin. Thanks for watching Direct Connection and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.